Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is Dr. William Snevlin coming to you again from With One Accord Ministries. And tonight we're going to do a teaching on a subject that's very near to our hearts, Mary and myself, and that is the subject of truth. Now that might seem kind of like self-evident. Yeah, of course we want truth. But we need to understand something, that, in the spiritual life, it is very easy to get off track. And I want to just explain to you how to keep from doing that. Because over the years, as most of you know, I had 16 years where I wandered around in various occult and cult groups, including the Freemasons, the Mormons, the Catholics, and so on. And of those, both the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church taught that they were the unique custodians of truth. That's important, because if you don't know the truth, how are you going to know how to get to heaven? How are you going to know to please Heavenly Father? And so I was on a search for truth. But as I've said on numerous occasions, I was looking for it in all the wrong places, instead of looking at it in the Scriptures. So we're going to take a little trip through the Scriptures today and just kind of do a study on truth. I want to challenge you about something here, because nobody in this life has a perfect understanding of the truth of Yahweh, because we are all flawed human beings. We all have our issues. We all have our perceptual filters that a lifetime of experience has given us. And I would just submit to you that, I think all of us need to kind of spend time and step back and ask ourselves, and more importantly, ask the Ruach, the set-apart spirit, if we're really doing what Yahweh wants us to do. Because some people, whether they were born Catholic or Mormon or Baptist or Jewish or whatever it might be, they just kind of go off there like a little wind-up toilet. Their parents wound up and off they go, and they never look back. And that's fine if what you've got is substantially true. But if you're a Catholic, or if you're a Mormon, or any number of other false religious systems, then it ain't true. And if you don't have the intellectual wherewithal and the honesty and the humility, because this is critical, because, most people, if they aren't teachable, it's because they lack humility. They don't have the humility to let real truth minister to them. And I'll tell you, in my years of talking to literally hundreds of people that were either Catholics or Mormons or Freemasons or whatever, most of them were so, in some cases very nicely, but very nicely arrogant in their assurance that they had the truth. And they don't. So how do you know? How do you know if you have the truth? And let me just say one other thing. People say, well, you go and you read the book. You read the Bible. That's how you know what the truth is. Well, yes. And that is obviously the truth. You get your truth from the Scriptures. But the trouble is, so many people read the Bible through a filter of their denomination. And a good example of that would be dispensational people who believe, the doctrine that was basically set forth by Darby and Schofield and a few men like that a little over 100 years ago. That's how old it is. And yet many people within fundamentalist Christianity just take that as, pardon the expression, gospel. They assume it's absolute truth. And it isn't. It absolutely is not. And I can say that as someone who believed in it and taught it very strongly myself for many years. But it's not true. And, even though most of what these people believe is quite solid, they still have these little chinks in their armor because they've never stopped to look critically at what they believe really measures up to the Bible. Because I hate to say it, but just like any other religious group, they have their proof texts. And I remember when I was first learning to do apologetics, apologetics is the study of the faith, and the defense of the faith, I'm sorry, against Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and so on. And my mentors, people like Dr. Walter Martin and Ed Decker and so on, they would say, well, cult groups know 90% of the Bible 10%, and they know 10% of the Bible 90%. By that I mean they all have their proof text for their unique ideas, and they know those really well. I mean, that's why Jehovah's Witnesses can sometimes totally demolish a typical Christian, is because in a small area of the scriptures, they know their Bibles really well. But the rest of the scriptures, they're totally at sea. And that's true of almost all of these people. And even among, people that would be called Orthodox Christians, like Baptists or whatever, they all have their little beliefs that may or may not actually be true. And let me just say this. To be moving in the direction of truth is to be moving in the direction of the Almighty, because He is truth. And listen to this. We're going to go through a few of these. This is Genesis 24:27. This is the first time the word truth is mentioned. Of course, the Hebrew word for truth is emet. And he said, this is the Abraham's servant talking, "Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of my master Abraham, who has not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I, being in the way, Yahweh led me to the house of my master's brethren." So he is saying, this servant of Abraham, that one of the essential qualities of Yahweh is truth. Truth belongs to Him. And to the extent that you have truth, you have Him. And so you never need to be afraid of asking the Almighty to give you more of His truth. I pray for that every day. Do you? Because every day I press in and I pray that I would never be deceived, that I would never be led astray. I pray to His Ruach, His set-apart Spirit, for wisdom and guidance and direction, because I know it is a great responsibility to be a teacher within the body, which is what I do. I am a teacher. I am a moreh in Hebrew. And so I want never to lead anybody astray. And so I pray earnestly every day for truth and for Abba Father to lead me into deeper levels of His truth. And I would just ask you, if you have a belief system, I don't care if it's being a Messianic Jew or if it's being a regular Jew or if it's being a Catholic or a Baptist or a Lutheran or a Mormon or whatever, do you actually just take all that for granted and let people spoon feed you stuff? Or do you go to the Spirit? Do you go to the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart Spirit, and ask for truth, pure truth? Let's go on. Again, this is part of His essential quality. In Deuteronomy 32:4, comparing Yahweh to false Elohim, Moses says this: "He, Yahweh, is the rock. His work is perfect. All His ways are judgment. An Elohim of truth and without iniquity. Just and right is He." So again, truth is one of His essential, absolute, non-negotiable qualities. And of course, we have Psalm 43:3, a very well-known verse, where the psalmist says, "O send out Thy light and Thy truth, that they may lead me, and let them bring me unto Thy holy hill and to Thy tabernacles." So we see there that truth is essential to lead us to Yahweh's tabernacle. We aren't going to get to heaven without truth, because as most people know, Yahushua said in John 14, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." He is the truth. And you're not going to get to heaven without Him. You're not going to get to heaven without truth. Now, um, this is a critical verse that people need to understand. I would recommend that anybody that is having trouble with understanding the Tanakh, the Hebrew scriptures, that they go and live in the 119th Psalm. It's the longest chapter in the Bible. It's incredibly deep, and it's a study in the Torah. And one of those verses in Psalm 119 is verse 142, where it says, "Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy Torah is truth." So we understand there that if you want truth, you want Torah. If you want Torah, you want truth. Yahushua is the truth. Yahushua is the living Torah. You can't have the one without the other. And I know that many, many believers think, oh, well, the Torah is done away with, the law is no more, it was nailed to the cross and all of that. There is no scriptural basis for that. And we've talked about that in other videos. But for now, I just want you to be exhorted to seek truth. Because truth is the light that will dispel all darkness. Okay, again, you want another passage? The same huge chapter in the Psalms, 119, verse 151. Thou art near, O Yahweh, and all thy commandments are truth. Now notice that. It says all. The Hebrew word there is kol, which means all. It doesn't just mean the 10 commandments. It just doesn't mean the 2 commandments that Yahushua, because people don't understand. Yahushua basically condensed the entire Torah in the 2 commandments. Love Yahweh with all your heart and with all your soul, with all your mind and with all your strength. And then we are to love our neighbor as ourselves. And those are basically the 2 tables of the law. The first 4 commandments are about loving Yahweh and how we do that. The last 6 commandments are about, in general, how we love our neighbor as ourselves. Easy. But this is saying here that all thy commandments are true. That means that a lot of the commandments in modern churches, oh, we don't have to worry about that. No, they're still true. And they're still applicable, like keeping the Sabbath, like keeping the dietary laws, what today are known as kosher laws, and so on. And now let's go to the New Testament. Yahushua in John 4:23 says, "The hour cometh and now is, when the true worshipers," not the false worshipers like the Mormons and the Catholics and so on, but the true worshipers "shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth." Notice that. We worship him in spirit, which means with both our spirit and with the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit coming out of us. And also we worship him in truth. And truth is part of the armor. Study that through. We've done a whole teaching on the armor. The girdle of truth. And every day I pray that Yahweh would apply the Avnet Ha'amet, the girdle of truth to me, to strengthen me, to go into battle and do warfare against the lies, because the lies of the enemy, the lies of Hasatan, are the greatest enemy that every believer has. And we need to do warfare against them every single day. And we can't do that without the full armor of Yahweh, including the girdle of truth. Okay. Anyhow, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. He wants people that are going to worship him in spirit, in the spirit, but also in the spirit and in truth. And if you don't know the truth, and I mean truth with a capital T. If you don't know the truth, if you don't know Yahushua, how can you worship him? This is critical, because if you don't know this book, you don't know Yahushua. If you don't know this book, you don't know the Torah. And without those 2 things, it's going to be very hard for you to worship him in spirit and in truth, because we've already been told by the word that the Torah is truth. Okay. Now, this is a critical passage that many people kind of gloss over. It's even quoted a lot in the secular realm, but it's usually misquoted. John 8:32, Yahushua says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Now notice that word there. It's make. Because many people say they misquote it, either because they're using a crummy Bible version or whatever, but it's the truth shall make you free. Now, I would submit to you that there's a huge difference between being set free and being made free. Because to be set free, like you can open up the door of a bird cage and let the bird have an open doorway to get out. But the bird might not fly away if they're kind of a dumb bird. And, many birds aren't very smart, especially the tiny brained ones, the little teeny ones. It's been known that they will simply sit there and not even realize the cage door is open. They have been set free, but they have not been made free. And I'm sure many of you heard the story about how a captured elephant is put in a chain around its leg and then they drive a big stake into the ground. So all the elephant can do is walk around in a circle. And then they can remove the chain later, but the elephant has been so enslaved by the lie of that chain that they'll keep walking around in a circle, even though they could very easily walk away. They have been set free, but they have not been made free. Truth, emet, truth with a capital T will make you free. Because the difference is to be set free is what in philosophy or whatever you want to call it is referred to as an accidental quality. It's something that is not intrinsic to you. So if a person has been set free, they can be made a slave again. But if you are made free, that is an essential change within you. If you are made free, that is absolutely down to the core of your being change, that nothing can change. You can take a man or a woman who has been made free by the word of Yahweh and lock them up, put them in chains, and they are no less free. Because an essential, down to the core of their being, change has been made within them. That is why we read about these stories of the men and women of faith back in the days of ancient Rome who were persecuted for their faith, who were locked up, who were horrible tortures, thrown to the lions, thrown to the gladiators, set on fire, and they were singing praises to Yahweh all through this. Because they had been made free. They had been made free by the truth. And the truth is Yahushua. And if you are not yet set free, you need to press in to His truth and ask every day for the girdle of truth along with the rest of the armor. And it will help you achieve freedom from your bondage. Because many, many Christians are still struggling with bondage, and even if they've gone through deliverance, they may still have emotional shackles, emotional wounds, a wounded spirit, a wounded soul that needs to be healed. Yahushua can do that for you. But you need to understand that this is available to you. This ministry of truth is available to you through His Word and through speaking forth His Word and through obeying His Torah. Okay. And of course, probably the most famous passage that I already alluded to, John 14:6, Yahushua said unto them, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father except by me. And that's it. He is the way, He is the truth, and He is the life. And what's the way mean exactly? Well, the way is what in Hebrew is called the halakha, the way you walk. We want to walk as Yahushua walked. We want to talk as Yahushua talked. We want to be an expression of Him on the earth, because right now He's in heaven. We are, and you've heard this preached, but I want to just reemphasize it. You are the only Yahushua people are going to see walking around down here. Because frankly, most Christians are a lousy example of Yahushua. Like some people have said that, a major proof that Christianity is true is the fact that it succeeds in spite of Christians. And it succeeds because of Yahushua and his truth to the extent that it is allowed to by us. Okay, so, and without truth, we cannot have life. So we need to have the halakha, the walk of Yahushua. And how did he walk? He walked in his Father's footsteps. He said, I have not done anything except what I have seen the Father doing. And that means the Father taught the Torah to the children of Israel, to his children. And if you're his child, you need to be keeping his Torah. Okay, just to finish this up, John 16:13, another rather well-known passage. However, Yahushua speaking, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you unto all truth. For he shall not speak of himself, whatsoever he shall hear, that shall he speak. And he will show you things to come. So, if you don't know for sure, like with me, for example, I don't want you to take any of what I'm saying as, true without checking it out. Be a Berean. Go and study the scriptures and see if what I'm saying is true. But realize that when the Bereans in Acts 19 were praised for being more noble than the ones in Thessalonica, they went to study the scriptures. What they were studying was the Torah, the prophets, and the Psalms. Because when that scripture was written, there was no New Testament. So, the point is that, the Spirit will lead you and guide you unto all truth. So don't trust me. Don't trust your Sunday day preacher. Don't trust the TV evangelist. Trust the Spirit. Pray every day for the discerning of spirits. Pray every day and claim the passage where Yahushua said, my sheep know me and hear my voice. You can stand on that scripture, but you've got to walk a set-apart walk. You can't be out there living like the devil and expect this set-apart spirit to lead you and guide you into all truth. So, and finally, the one I want to end with is John 17:17, which is the original guiding verse of this ministry back when it was originally called Aletheia Ministries, which is the Greek word for truth, Aletheia. And sanctify them by thy truth. Thy word is truth. John 17:17. So, what's that saying is that we can be to be sanctified. That's a English word that's rooted in the Latin word sanctus, meaning to be set apart. If you want to be set apart, you need to be set apart by his truth. Not the truth of the Mormon prophet, not the truth of the Catholic Pope, not the truth of your Baptist preacher or your Methodist preacher or your Pentecostal preacher. His truth, the truth of the set-apart Spirit. And I would just challenge you, if you still, and I'm not trying to rain on anybody's theology here, but I just want you to understand that many of us take things for granted because of stuff when we were taught when we were young Christians, either literally chronologically young, or even if as an adult we got saved in a particular denomination. That's great. But that isn't necessarily the source of all truth. This book is the source of all truth. And unfortunately, no denomination today has all the answers. Only this book has all the answers. You need to rightly divide the word of truth. You need to ask the Spirit every day in prayer. Before you set out in your day, you need to ask the set-apart Spirit to give you the full armor of Yahweh and especially the girdle of truth. And you ask to be led and guided unto all truth, because that is the promise that Yahushua gave us. And I would submit to you that if you're not doing these things, you can be doing okay, you can be, but I'll tell you, when I get attacked, which I do, by believers, not just by cult groups, but by believers, who say, oh, you're teaching heresy, you're trying to be a Judaizer, you're trying to put people back under the law. That's a big one. And no, I'm not. I'm just trying to open the book and let people know the entire book, like Paul himself said, to declare unto you the whole counsel of Yahweh, not just the last fourth of it. Think about that. Because we are to declare the whole counsel of Yahweh, not just, the four Gospels and the epistles and Revelation. The whole book is the word of Yahweh, from Genesis to Revelation, not just Matthew to Revelation. And if you don't understand that, you need to seek the Ruach, the set-apart Spirit, and ask for His truth. And again, I would challenge you every day when you begin your morning devotions, before you crack open your Bible, before you pray and seek counsel for the day, that you put on the armor and ask the Ruach to lead you and guide you unto all truth and to keep you from error, to keep you from false doctrine, because they're out there. They're all over the internet. They're all over the denominational world. And they're all over the world of the cults especially. So pray for the Spirit to give you truth. Pray to be able to hear His voice clearly, and then have the courage and the resources and the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding to follow that truth, wherever it may take you. Because that takes courage. That takes the courage that can only come from heaven. Because you'll go against the conventional wisdom of the day. But that conventional wisdom is not from heaven. The wisdom you see out there in the world and in most of Christianity is carnal, sensual, and devilish. It is not from heaven. It's from the other place. And I say that in all love because I want to warn you. And I become your enemy because I tell you the truth. The truth is, most Christianity is lawless. Most Christianity is tepid, it's Laodicean, it's lukewarm, and what does Yahushua say in Revelation 3? He says, because of these things, I will spew you out of my mouth. And that's what I heard one old preacher years ago at a tent revival saying, do you have a pukifying pulpit in your church? I don't know. Think about it, though. And pray for His truth every day. Pray for the Ruach to lead you and guide you into all truth. And you'll get it. I mean it. Because if you don't do these things, you can be blown to and fro by every wind of doctrine. Make truth your cornerstone. Because Yahushua said He is the truth. And He's our cornerstone. He is the Rosh Pinah, the head of the corner. That's the Hebrew for cornerstone. Rosh Pinah. And that's what He is. So make His truth the cornerstone of your life, of your walk, and of your faith. And you will be much more powerful, and you will be a mighty warrior of truth. That's another thing to pray for. Every day I pray that Yahweh would make me a warrior of truth. And He will. He will. I hope this blessed you. I hope this gave you encouragement and strength to go forth and to do what you need to do to encounter the living word of Yahweh. Thank you. If you were blessed by this, if you found it helpful, we would appreciate your subscribing and sharing. And we would also appreciate you praying about supporting our ministry with prayer and with donations. Thank you so much. Shalom, shalom.